A certain element of mystery has always surrounded Johnny DiMera, even among those who are closest to him in Salem. This has been the case for as long as anyone can remember. He is the son of Sami Brady and E.G. DiMera, and he has inherited both his parents' profound dedication to family as well as their capacity to find themselves in situations that test the limits of their morals. He is the son of Sami Brady and E.G. DiMera. However, Johnny has been acting in a manner that is considerably more secretive than normal as of late, and as a result, his friends and family are curious about what he is doing. This has caused them to be curious about what he is doing. Joy Wesley, an unanticipated confidant, is the person he turns to when he finds himself in a situation in which he requires the assistance of someone he can rely on. Joy Lane, the younger sister of Chloe Lane, has returned to Salem as a young lady who is intelligent, self-assured, and ready to carve her own path in life. Chloe Lane is the older sister of Joy Lane. Even though Joy and Johnny come from different backgrounds and have different histories, they have experienced situations together that have resulted in an unexpected bond between them. This bond has been formed despite the fact that they have different histories. As a consequence of this, when Johnny's life takes a turn for the worse, he arrives at the realization that Joy is the one person he can rely on to keep his secret safe. The request for it is very interesting. Johnny is waiting for Joy in the town square of Salem, which is the site where they meet on a regular basis. This happens on a particular evening. While he is making an effort to settle his nervousness, he frantically checks his watch and wanders about the crowd, looking at the people around him. Joy is greeted by him with a grin when she finally arrives, but she detects that there is a tinge of stress in his look that she does not miss. Joy does not miss the hint of worry. What precisely is going on in this situation, Jimmy? While folding her arms and tilting her head in an interested manner, Joy asks the question under consideration. I got the impression that you were quite serious when we spoke on the phone. After taking a few deep breaths, Johnny looks around to make sure that no one is within earshot of him. He then continues to look forward. It is in a quiet voice that he whispers, "Joy, I need you to keep a secret for me." And he communicates this to her, something significant. Joy, who is captivated but wary, raises an eyebrow. She appears to be cautious. She has been privy to a significant number of DiMera family secrets over the course of her life, and she is well aware that these secrets are rarely clear and straightforward. She responds by saying, "This sounds intense," while making an effort to keep a conversational tone throughout the exchange. Do you have any idea that the secrets that are maintained in Salem are like time bombs that are about to release their contents? In response to the growing gravity of his expression, he gives a small nod. I am unable to transfer this obligation to anyone else, since I do not have anyone else who is capable of doing so. There is no one else in my family that is not involved in the drama that is currently taking place, and you are the only one. There is a hint of desperation in Johnny's voice, and for a brief moment, she starts to understand the degree to which he is experiencing feelings of isolation when he speaks. Joy lets out a sigh and moves closer to the person. "Johnny, everything is okay. You would be wise to place your trust in me. What precisely is taking place here?" This is the revelation of the secret. Before getting closer to her and beginning to explain what he is saying, Johnny gives a quick glance around the room. There is a possibility that a member of my family is concealing something embarrassing from me, something that, if it were to become public knowledge, might potentially cause a considerable deal of harm to a huge number of individuals. My father was on the phone when I overheard him talking, and he mentioned something about a DiMera asset, which is something that is worth millions of dollars and has the potential to shift the balance of power in Salem. I overheard him talking about this asset. In contrast, when I inquired about it, he ignored my inquiry and continued on with his business. As Joy continues to listen, The expression on her face shifts from one of interest to one of genuine concern that she may be experiencing. So you believe that it is something that is against the law? Johnny clenches his jaw and murmurs, probably, as he does so. He accepts the statement. To get to the point, however, here it is. It is possible that I am the one who puts myself in risk if I am the one who wanders around and wanders around too much. I need your assistance in order to find out what it is without letting my father in on the secret. It is of the utmost importance that I solve this mystery. The comments that he made are taken into serious consideration by Joy. She is able to sense Johnny's unhappiness and the strain he feels as a result of carrying this burden alone, despite the fact that it is dangerous to become involved with the secrets that the DiMera family keeps. Her reassuring nod towards him is focused in his direction. Johnny, I will be by your side to assist you, all that you could possibly require. The look on Johnny's face now conveys a sense of immense relief. Joy, I am delighted to hear that. I had no question that I could count on you to be reliable. Finding some pieces of the puzzle, Johnny decides to enlist Joy the following day to assist him in obtaining information in a covert manner. Joy gets recruited by Johnny. They arrive at the conclusion that the most effective approach to start is to go to the DiMera Enterprises building after hours in the aim of acquiring access to some files that could provide some insight into this mystery asset. This is the best method to begin investigating this asset. Through the use of Johnny's access code, they sneak into the office building late at night, sneaking discreetly around the halls that are moderately illuminated. This allows them to avoid being discovered. Despite the fact that Joy is well aware that this is a serious situation, she can't help but get a thrill from the fact that she is sneaking around. She studies the issue while muttering with a grin, "This feels like something out of a spy movie," as she takes a closer look at it. After Johnny chuckles, he feels a slight reduction in the stress that he was experiencing. To tell you the truth, I never imagined that I would be playing the lead role, but here we are. When they arrived at EG's office, Johnny immediately pulled out his phone and started browsing through some files that were kept on the computer. He did this as soon as they entered the building. Following a limited period of time spent looking, he stumbles into a folder that is labeled Confidential, and within that folder is a file that is titled Project Phoenix. He then proceeds to look for the file. His eyes widen as he clicks it open, revealing a list of assets that are connected to DiMera activities located in different parts of the world. This category of assets encompasses real estate, financial accounts, and formal papers. His focus is directed to a certain term that says classified asset, authorized access only. He immediately becomes aware of this sentence. The rapid beating of his heart causes him to say, "That has to be it," as his heartbeat quickens. In spite of this, they are able to hear footsteps resonating down the corridor far before they are able to look any further. "I am sorry, Johnny, but there is a guest on the way." While she is clinging to his arm, Joy whispers something to herself in a low voice. They hastily close the file and then sneak out of the office, entering a nearby conference room just in time to avoid being discovered. They do this in order to avoid being recognized. As the footsteps reverberate down the corridor, they wait in tense silence, holding their breath, as then watch the footfall disappear from the scene. Joy clenches her teeth and exhales. That was way too close, as her heart beats exceedingly quickly. Johnny, who is on the same level of fear, nods a nod. On the other hand, we were successful in acquiring all that we needed. Project Phoenix is the name of the thing that I need to look into the matter of. A determination to protect and preserve. While Johnny and Joy are taking a stroll around Salem Park the following day, Johnny expresses his gratitude to Joy for the support she provided. However, when he comes to terms with the implications of what they have uncovered, his expression shifts and changes. "Joy, I am aware that this secret has the potential to blow up in my face," he says in response. As the speaker continued, "And if it does, I don't want you to get dragged into it," she said something else. A scowl appears on Joy's face as she becomes aware of the terror that lies underlying his words. Let's be honest. We are all pulling in the same direction. You are not the only one coping with this, Johnny. There are others. By extending his hand to shake her hand, Johnny conveys his appreciation for her and shows his appreciation for her. This is a fact. On the other hand, I require you to ascertain that you will go in the event that the circumstance becomes too hazardous for you to continue. You are not going to be put in a precarious circumstance by me. Despite the fact that Joy is aware of his genuineness, she is unable to walk away from the situation at this time since she is too involved in it. You have my word that I will proceed with extreme caution. I can always count on you, Johnny, to be there for me when I need assistance. Right now, it is my duty to be there for you whenever you need me. For the first time in a very long time, Johnny gets the feeling that he has someone on whom he can trust, and the expression on his face shifts to a tiny smile. This is the first time that he has experienced this sense. Joy, I am delighted to hear that. If it weren't for you, I have no idea what I would do with the rest of my life. The importance of maintaining confidentiality. Johnny's secret begins to weigh heavily on both of them over the course of several days, and it begins to have a huge impact on themselves as well. They gather in private, exchanging information and putting together clues, but the number of times they come into contact with one another raises the likelihood that they will be detected. Joy is able to observe the toll that Johnny's once laid-back demeanor is starting to take on him as a result of the tension and anxiety that he is experiencing. Despite the growing threat, Joy does not waver in her determination to be by his side regardless of the circumstances. Not only does she become his confidant and anchor, but she also becomes someone who is aware of the implications that would result from him being unable to divulge this information. Having said that, she is well aware that secrets in Salem are not often kept hidden for an extended amount of time very often. Over the course of one afternoon, Johnny pulls Joy aside with a disturbed expression on his face. This is in response to yet another near miss that Johnny has had. There is no telling how much longer I will be able to maintain this level of performance, Joy. Is it possible that someone will find it? Imagine that my family finds out about it. As a means of providing him with reassurance, she places her hand on his shoulder. Johnny, my friend, and I are going to face anything comes our way together, regardless of what happens. You don't have to bear this burden by yourself. A connection that has been created through trust, devotion, and the sharing of secrets over the course of their friendship has eventually developed into something far more significant than the casual and lighthearted nature of their friendship. Additionally, despite the fact that they are both aware that the truth will eventually be discovered, they are both willing to face whatever consequences may be in store for them. This is the case despite the fact that they are both aware of the information. For the time being, the fact that they have each other is sufficient that they have them. During the time that they are going their own ways, Johnny feels a sense of peace and contentment. Even though he is still making his way down a dangerous path, he is experiencing a degree of strength that he was previously unaware he possessed. This is despite the fact that he is still heading downward. On the other hand, he is totally oblivious to the notion that the secret they are keeping from each other would, in the long run, have repercussions that are significantly more severe than anything they could have rationally predicted. Xander Cook and Kristen DiMera, two of Salem's most devious and dangerous characters, continue to be a source of great drama on Days of Our Lives. This is especially true when the relationship between them is involved. When the drama incorporates occurrences that involve both of these individuals, this is especially true because it highlights the situation. Because both of them are infamous for participating in shady activity and doing whatever it takes to obtain what they want, the stakes are guaranteed to be high when they find themselves in each other's circle once more. This is because the stakes are sure to be high regardless of the circumstances. On the other hand, Xander makes her an offer that may potentially be fatal, and she is unable to deny it. This is a turn of events that even Kristen finds startling. There is a possibility that this plan may cause a shift in the power dynamic in Salem, cause disruptions in people's lives, and put in risk anyone who attempts to hinder their progress. Confrontation of minds that pose a threat to the organization. Since the beginning of the Salem series, Kristen DiMera has consistently been one of the most complicated and manipulative characters. Throughout her life, she has always been able to establish a balance between her unyielding love to her family and her unquenchable ambition to achieve success at whatever cost. She has been working on her plans on her own for a number of months, at the same time eluding police enforcement and striving to find a way to restore her position of leadership. During this time period, Xander Cook, who is also a wild card for Salem, has been facing an increasing amount of tension. Throughout the course of the last few months, he has been making a concerted effort to reclaim control of his life. He is torn between the aspiration to prove his worth and the need to satisfy his need for financial gain. When Xander learns that Kristen has returned to town, he is presented with a window of opportunity that offers itself to him. When all is said and done, who better to work with than someone who is precisely the same as he is in terms of their ambition and their willingness to compete? They have the potential to become an unstoppable force in Salem if they combine the wealth that Kristen possesses with the shrewdness that Xander have about him. As a consequence of this, Xander makes a concentrated effort to find Kristen in order to make a pitch that has the potential to change the way that both of their lives are going to flow from this point forward. It is a partnership that was formed in secrecy, according to the proposal. At first, Kristen was doubtful of Xander's motives. However, when he mentioned the possibility of their forming a partnership, she became interested in the idea. Due to the fact that she is certain that he is merely seeking to use her influence in order to pull himself out of his most recent financial issues, her initial reaction is one of mistrust. Xander, on the other hand, makes it abundantly plain that he is giving her with more than just a conventional professional connection right away. He is suggesting a cooperation that will be a deadly alliance with the intention of destroying everybody who stands in their path. This alliance will help them achieve their goal. There are far too many people who have wronged us, Kristen. Xander replies in a tone that is low and scary on the other end of the spectrum. They have the mistaken belief that they may turn their backs on us and still avoid the consequences of their actions when they do so. However, what would happen if we switched places with one another? Just try to fathom the magnitude of the power that would be available to us if we would collaborate. Kristen, who is famed for her lack of trust and her tendency to venture out on her own, narrows her eyes as she listens. She is known for her tendency to go out on her own. She has been harmed by fake ties before. In fact, her own brother has betrayed her. This is not the first time that she has been hurt by false relationships. In contrast, she is obliged to take into consideration the offer because of Xander's harshness and the sign of desperation that he portrays in his eyes. Because of this, she is compelled to take into consideration the offer. Aware of the fact that he is a potential danger, she is also cognizant of the fact that his allegiance, in the event that it is ultimately won, can be fierce. Products that are on their list of targets. The initial step in the process of forming their cooperation is to determine the adversaries that they share something in common with one another. Xander, who has been humiliated by former business associates and powerful people in Salem, quickly lists a few recognizable faces that he would like to see suffer. He said that he would like to see them suffer too. In the meantime, Kristen has compiled her own list, which includes people from Salem who have either thwarted her efforts to achieve her goals or who have betrayed her confidence. During the time that they are expressing their annoyance, a list of prospective targets that is both malicious and potential begins to take shape. Among the names that are at the very top of both of their lists is Brady Black, who is one of the performers. Despite the fact that Kristen has a twisted love for Brady, she has resentment toward him because he rejected her, and she believes that he ought to be taught a hard lesson. Xander, who has long harbored resentment toward Brady, now has the opportunity to gain influence over one of Salem's most influential families as a result of this. Xander sees this as an opportunity to acquire leverage in the situation. Eventually, the two of them come to the realization that they will collaborate in order to take advantage of Brady. Perhaps they will do this by involving him in a scandal or by framing him in a manner that will guarantee that he will be publicly humiliated. Furthermore, Sarah Horton is another objective that draws them together as a partnership. Xander has been struggling with sentiments that he has for Sarah that have not gone away, despite the fact that he is filled with hatred and resentment for the way things ended between them. Xander has been fighting with these feelings. With Kristen's help, he was eventually able to put those ideas to rest by making Sarah pay for what he perceived to be a betrayal on her behalf. With this, he was able to put an end to those thoughts. Kristen, who is a fan of a good revenge plot, encourages Xander to let go of his conflicting feelings and to completely immerse himself in their idea. Xander is encouraged to be completely immersed in their idea, uncrossing boundaries while creating obstacles for oneself. Kristen and Xander are more than capable of carrying out the plan that they have developed, despite the fact that it is exceedingly cruel and requires careful planning. Together, they establish a series of traps for the persons they have targeted, beginning with a rumor mill that will plant the seeds of doubt and suspicion throughout the entirety of Salem. Additionally, they work together to accomplish this. Kristen makes use of the connections she has with the DiMera family in order to generate evidence that Brady is involved in shady deals to support her claim that Brady is involved in misconduct. While this is going on, Xander is using his connections to generate photographs that could be regarded compromising and could potentially affect Sarah's reputation in the medical industry. Xander is doing this while also using his connections, on account of the fact that each of them feeds off the other's need to exert control and authority over the situation. Kristen and Xander both experience an intoxicating thrill while their plan is carried out. This perilous game is almost as exhilarating for Kristen as the power that she is gaining, and she is having a good time with it. An opportunity to reclaim a sense of being respected and feared throughout the course of time is presented to Xander by this current circumstance. Salem has not seen such a force of manipulation, deceit, and mayhem as the two of them have become, acting in perfect concert with one another. It has been years since Salem has experienced such a force. On the other hand, when they begin to lay their traps, both Kristen and Xander realize that they are going beyond boundaries that they had not imagined. The boundary between personal vendetta and professional vendetta is becoming increasingly unclear, and as a result, the implications of their actions are beginning to weigh heavily on them. In spite of the fact that they might be working together, long-standing concerns and uncertainties are brought to the forefront once again here. Every single one of them is struggling with their own personal indiscretions and betrayals that stem from the past. An alliance that is filled with uneasiness and tension because of its nature. In spite of the fact that Kristen and Xander initially thrive on their shared drive for vengeance, their relationship is beginning to show signs of deterioration. Taking into consideration the fact that Kristen has a tendency to deceive even her close friends, she begins to doubt whether or not Xander can be trusted in any way under any circumstances. Over the course of this period, Xander starts to develop doubts that Kristen might be exploiting him in order to advance her own self-interest. The fact that one of them is concerned about being outmaneuvered by the other is one of the factors that leads to the developing mistrust that exists between them as they continue to carry out their schemes. During a particular point in time, Xander is able to observe Kristen making a call about which he was unaware, which prompts his suspicions to become more intense. He cautioned her by saying, "If we are going to make this work, you have to be honest with me." He said this at the beginning of the conversation. Kristen, on the other hand, is undisturbed by his extreme anger and disregards him as being unimportant. She gives him the advice, "Don't forget, Xander," while displaying a menacing grin on her face. "You have made your way to me. The rules are made by me." The fact that this connection is not even close to being an equal alliance is brought to our attention in a clear and uncompromising manner. Xander and Kristen are ultimately driven by their own unique desires, and the temptation to betray each other is never far from their minds. This is the case despite the fact that they have discovered something that they share in common. When you get into a lethal deal, betrayal is as close as one false step away, and both of them are aware of this and are prepared to take it. Consequences are included in one of the games with the highest stakes. Soon after, their plan to eliminate Brady, Sarah, and anybody else who stands in their way takes an unexpected turn. which leads other Salamites who were ignorant of the circumstances to become caught in the web caused by the predicament. When John, Marlena, and Victor begin to receive the impression that something nefarious is taking place in Salem, they start to communicate their concerns by asking questions. This is because they are concerned about the situation. Xander and Kristen are being drawn deeper and deeper into a pattern of lying with each step that they take by virtue of the fact that they are required to cover their tracks with falsehoods that are progressively more sophisticated. Regardless of the growing threat, Kristen and Xander are unwavering in their determination to never back down from their position, to achieve the goals that they have set for themselves. Each and every one of them is willing to sacrifice everything in order to achieve their goals. However, with each and every move, they put themselves in jeopardy of being revealed, and the risky game that they are playing threatens to swallow both of them. There is a need for a reconciliation. The sequence of circumstances that has been set in motion as a result of the lethal proposition that Xander made to Kristen is beyond the power of both Kristen and Xander. Both of them are unable to fully control the chain of events. In light of the fact that the people of Salem are getting closer to finding the truth, Kristen and Xander find themselves in a position where they are forced to make a decision. Either they should enhance their partnership, or they should give up on it before it brings about their own doom. Even if this is the case, the two continue to proceed along their dark path for the time being. Both of them are aware that in this perilous dance, even a single error could prove to be fatal. In spite of the fact that trust is fleeting and partnerships are only temporary in Salem, Kristen and Xander are more than prepared to lay everything on the line in order to accomplish their objectives, provided that they are ultimately successful in accomplishing their objectives. Whether they will be successful or whether they will wind up hurting each other in the process is something that can only be determined by time alone.